Wushu has been hard at work doing what we do every year at this studio, which is make sweaters, or in this case, release sweaters. So, people, over the course of a couple of Christmases, we've added sort of a bunch of traditions to State of Decay 2. Every year, people expect that certain things are going to show up, and those things require us to release an update. And so Wushu basically planned their schedule around the fact that they knew they were going to need to release a holiday update. So not only do we have a bunch of our holiday outfits and other traditions coming back into the game, but they've also brought in some additional bug fixes and some brand new content that you haven't seen before. So let's get into it. First off, as you can see over on the left side of this image, we've got the classic ugly holiday sweaters and hats. I don't love the tradition of calling them ugly sweaters because they're actually, that's sort of the official word for this kind of sweater, but they're actually gorgeous. Like, they're some of my favorite things.
Are you experiencing the holidays if you don't have an ugly sweater and a hat?
I feel like for a long time I didn't have one. I would just wear flannels like this all the time until, I saw the former design director over here, Richard Fogey, has this massive collection of geeky ugly sweaters that he wears like all Christmas season long, from like Halloween until New Year's. A different geeky ugly sweater every single day at work. And he had one with walkers on Hoth. He had I think one with Yoda on it. He had all kinds of weird stuff. So I went out and I got myself a Lord of the Rings Eye of Sauron ugly sweater that I now wear to holiday parties. So,
honestly, the uglier, the more handsome and looking you look, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah, it's a contrast thing. You wear a really ugly sweater and it just brings out your face. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Exactly.
I wish I had the glowing light bulb sweater, though. On the right side of this little group of 5 here on the left, that is my favorite piece of clothing in the entire game, and I wish I had something that looked like that in real life. But
yeah, that'd be awesome.
But we're not just bringing back those outfits, because as you've probably already seen on the right side of this image, we've got a different set of outfits. So I have been getting messages constantly for the past year, people saying, when are you going to bring back those limited edition outfits that you did to do tie-ins with other games? We had an anniversary celebration for our game. We also had an Age of Empires hoodie. We had a vest from Sea of Thieves. And guess what? We're bringing those back too. Finally. Not just those, but also the green cattleman hat, which it's got the little glowing sequins around the outside of it, which are great. So it's like the perfect outfit really is that glowing reindeer sweater, and then the shiny cattleman hat is probably my favorite outfit to put on a character.
Agreed. But I really like the Sea of Thieves one too, by the way, with the gloves, and that one's amazing.
Yeah, and it's got sort of the Sea of Thieves skull on the back. So I love that we've got our own skull logo that looks like an eagle, and they've got a skull. And so they kind of really line up together really, really nicely. And I had a character for a long time that I called Scary Gary, and I would always dress him in that vest, and also and I think it was the maybe the hockey mask or something, one of the other masks. I would run around in that outfit. I had even forgotten that was a Sea of Thieves tie, and that it was a limited edition outfit that most people couldn't wear. And so people would be like, where'd you get that vest? I'm like, it's just one of the vests. What are you talking about? I forgot. No, it's a limited edition vest that I got in 2020 or something. And people who joined us since then have not been able to get this clothing. And so, yeah, basically, if you play the game after the update comes out, anytime between then and early January, all of these outfits are just going to drop into your lap. If you don't have them yet, they're just going to show up in your closet, and you'll just have them forever. So I've had them for years now, but you can now have them too if you're new to the game.
Kudos to the art team. They all look amazing. So
yeah,
just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, massive credit to Susan Jessup. She actually no longer works at the company. She's moved on to other things, but she was a master at She created all of our insane Halloween costumes. She built a lot of this clothing. She not only built into the game. Some of the pieces of clothing she actually built in real life. It's kind of insane.
Wow.
The amount of skill and talent that she had, and she actually left us with some extra clothing that we have not released yet. In fact, we still haven't released.
Ooh.
We've got a few dozen things that maybe might be less than a few dozen. I don't know. She left some stuff for us though that we haven't released yet. But the night is young. One other thing I wanted to point out though, while we're talking about holiday stuff that gets released automatically if you just play the game after Update 35 launches, which is going to be sometime, by the way, in early December. That's what we're shooting for. So early December sometime. this is gonna land from then until sometime in early January. All you have to do is play the game to unlock these. Now, there's one thing that you actually need to put some extra effort into, and that is the glorious Wizard Van. That is returning with its beautiful. I think it was Mark Lautenbach that made this thing. The magic wand melee weapon in the back. That thing is going to also arrive. But it's a radio command. You have to call that sucker in. Don't forget to do that in December. But I believe that, so I don't actually remember. I don't know what rules Wushu set up for this. I should have asked them before the stream. But basically, I'm not sure if you can call down as many wizard vans as you want to in your community during that time, or if it's limited to one van per community. I know when we first released it, it was one van per community. But they had the chance to crack this open again, so have a look at it. See what it can do. Maybe we'll have a solid answer for you in December when we do our next stream. But there's options on the table. Nice. Anyway. So, speaking of brand new stuff that you haven't seen before, all of that stuff is old stuff that you've seen before. We've got a few new items that are coming in. So, this is part of the rest of Update 35. We've actually got a brand new mission that's coming into the game, and I don't know a lot of the details about it because I wasn't one of the people developing it. But there is a new mission that is going into the game, and part of that mission is looting 4 different outfit items from across the map. And so that includes that blue shark hoodie. We've got a couple of fancy, got a white fedora and a white gambler's hat. And then really the star of the show is that leopard print Outback hat at the bottom, which just looks insane to me. And I feel like that's the hat that probably, I've got a daughter who plays State of Decay, and like half of her clothing is in that leopard print. So that's probably going to be her favorite.
Oh, they're gorgeous. I love the hats. I'm a big hat guy, obviously, so love the hats. Well done.
And then in addition to that, that's not all that we're going to be doing. Oh, hey, my controller just disconnected. We've got the game running in the background right now. Let me make sure that we don't lose it while we're going, because Sonny and I are actually going to play the game at some point, I promise. But other stuff coming in. We've got a new curveball coming in. It's called Influx of Meds, and it's basically, it's one of the positive curveballs. It's one of the ones that actually makes your life easier for a little while. Basically, it creates a bubble of space on the map where you're going to have access to a lot more meds resources and a lot more meds consumables, a lot more like medical consumables. I don't know exactly how it works, but I read it in the patch notes and it sounds good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. The curveballs have been just really fun to really is a curveball. It's been well named. It's been really fun to deal with.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I love it. One of my favorite things to do is to sort of create a system that is sort of that seems obviously expandable over time. Like that was kind of my thing with sort of the naming and the trait system. It's the fact that like once we made the system, there was nothing stopping us from adding more to it over time. And so I get to add people's names and stuff into the game, and it's a lot of fun. And the curveballs, they're a little more expensive than adding somebody's name, but it's the kind of system where you can just keep having good ideas. You don't have to just come up with a bunch of stuff and then stop and move on. You can keep having good ideas, and you can see that Wushu is still thinking of new ways to use this feature.
Yeah, it was when I first discovered it, it was just like, well, I can't believe they incorporated something like this, because I've been hearing for I think years now from yourself that the code is old and you can't do hardly anything to this thing, and it seems like they pulled the magic rabbit out of their hat and have really done something really neat within the system that you guys have.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed. The sheer number of things that they did with the Curveball update that I honestly would not have even asked my team to do, because when you're so aware of like sort of the layers of cruft that develop in a game's code over time, you kind of don't want to ask somebody to do something that's really that is going to be a little bit obnoxious. But I think Wushu came in just like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're like, we could do anything, and they went nuts and did a bunch of stuff that we probably never would have done. So I mean, I feel like it was a really good move to sort of do this handoff and give somebody with who's just got that sort of youthful newcomer energy to bring into the game.
I agree. A fresh set of eyes on something that just looks at it from a different perspective, it can be absolute game changer for anything like this, or even like the content creator. It's such a big deal.
So to go on to sort of look at some of the other bug fixes and things that are going into the game. First off, they've improved curveball distribution. So basically the idea is, I think they got some feedback from the audience that they felt like they were getting too much repetition, not enough variety of curveballs. And they've got a huge list of curveballs, but it's not endless, and so you will eventually see the same curveballs over time. But they've tweaked the way that the randomness works so that you're more likely to get a variety of curveballs and you're not going to see as much repetition over time. They've also fixed. There was a problem with the day counter, where the day counter was adding 7 days for some reason to people's whatever timeline, and so that should be fixed now in the new update. They've also fixed a ton of localization bugs. La Coalición, who's in our chat right now, in particular, has been sending us tons and tons of reports because he runs a Spanish-speaking State of Decay community, and basically whenever we're implementing a feature and we're putting text into a feature, we always have to very specifically, like the first time we implement it, we just throw the text in, and then later we go back through and we're like, okay, this needs to be localized, that needs to be localized, and we'll like basically specially format that text so that it is sort of put out to like a spreadsheet someplace, and we send it out to translators and they translate the whole thing, and then that stuff gets automatically sort of loaded back into the game. And if you set your Xbox or your PC or whatever to use different languages, then you'll get all of the text in that language. But it's really easy to miss individual pieces of text and just not do that formatting to them. And if that happens, it never goes to the localizers, it never gets translated, and so that happened in a few places across the Curveball update. So we've listened to the feedback that we got from La Coalición and other sources, and Wushu has fixed a bunch of those cases. We can't promise they fixed every single case. There might still be a few. I think they're aware of a few that they're still in the process of fixing, but everything that they had so far, that they had finished so far when it was time to drop update 35, they're shipping all of those out. So hopefully Spanish-speaking and other language-speaking communities, hopefully you'll have a lot more that you can actually read instead of a bunch of random English text showing up instead of the language that you've set your game to. And
it's I wanted to say real quick that I've noticed that I've been talking to other communities from other languages that play this game, and the cool thing is that they don't complain too much, but it's really cool that he's been catching these and helping those community out, because they do reach out to me and tell me things, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not sure what can be done about that. So I'm really glad that those are being looked at. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really important to us to support these other languages, because, I mean, one of the things that really made it possible for us to continue to support this game over time is when we release a Juggernaut update, we talk about the fact that that was when we sort of folded in some of the DLCs from the original game. That was when we added the brand new, new player experience and Providence Ridge. There's a bunch of big changes that went in. One we don't talk about that much was that's also when we translated the game into Chinese and put it on Steam, which gave it a much greater reach to a lot of places that, that either didn't have a lot of Xbox penetration or that didn't have a lot of language penetration. And so the fact that this game suddenly became more successful at the Juggernaut edition, and we were able to keep supporting it for another 3 years after that, a lot of it is owed to our international community that speaks languages other than English. And so we owe you guys a lot, and so we're going to try to support this game for you as well as we possibly can. So
shout out to them, by the way.
Yeah.
I have somebody who takes my videos and he translated to him, and I give him the complete okay. I don't care if he makes money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to the international community. They're big, they're awesome, and they really love this community and they love this game. And so just shout out to them.
Yeah, and so whenever La Coalición translates this video into Spanish for his own community, just, hi, La Coalición. Now you have to translate an acknowledgement of you and how awesome you and your community are. So the Black Heart. So we actually had a couple mentions in the chat while we were talking of the Black Heart, which is one of the toughest curveballs in the game. It's this. I have not actually fought the thing yet. It's a very difficult to kill Plague Heart that, depending on what attributes and things with it, can make your game very, very, very difficult. And so there was a problem with its objectives. Its objectives were not showing up, and they fixed that. They have not made it any easier though, so it is still just as hard. So apologies to anyone for whom this has been a struggle. They've kept the difficulty high, but they've at least made it more accessible, easier to understand what's going on. And then on top of that, there's also another curveball that needed some help. It was under the weather. It was actually, the curveball was ending, but it was looking like it was lasting longer than it actually was. That bug has also been fixed. We got a couple of curveballs that needed fixing, and those fixes have gone in. And finally, various key binding issues. That was sort of the last thing on the bullet list. We've got, basically there were, they didn't actually list them all out in detail, but once you look at the patch notes, you'll see that basically there was a few different issues. Whenever you add a new feature to the game that edits the key bindings, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And so they've gone through and sort of like fixed all the problems that they knew about with if you've got a custom keyboard layout or custom controller layout, there were some things that were obstacles that now hopefully should not be obstacles anymore. And a partridge in a pear tree, because I had some extra space at the bottom of the list, and I really didn't want to reformat all of these bullets when I realized I had extra space at the bottom. So there you go. You get a partridge in a pear tree that you can imagine is in the game and is not real.